Hello, you magnificent bastards. Welcome to another episode of the Viva Bastardo show brought to you by the Hagerty Podcast Network. Today we have the legendary, biblical, iconic figure, Jonathan Ward. Oddly enough, head of Icon, king of the Restomod, king of the FJ Cruiser Restomod, king of just obsessive, compulsive, glorious automobile creations. We talk about all the cars he's made. We talk about the watches he loves. We talk about just endless amounts of nerdy stuff. It's really a nerdapalooza of mechanical bits and pieces. So let's get into it. This podcast is brought to you by Aerovolt. Aerovolt was designed by Pete Brock, who just so happens to be the legendary designer of the Corvette Stingray and the Shelby Daytona Coupe. It's a car trailer that's made of aluminum and composite materials, incredibly efficient, incredibly aerodynamic. It's just a beautiful thing to look at also, as it turns out. Find out more at aerovolt.com or call them at Henderson, Nevada at 702-843-5320 and tell them Hagerty sent you. Veg tanned.
Yeah. Say it again.
Are we recording?
We are.
We maybe the whole podcast will just be
Veg tan. Quarter sawn white oak.
Continuous. I gotta get it. Continuous veg tanned leather.
I should have brought scotch and really fucked this up. We could.
You know I'm shit at drinking. I'm the two brew Jew. Oh. Yeah, like a couple of scotches, I would have been under the table.
That would have been really interesting.
When I moved here in the early 90s, there was a public access channel, Channel 35, and they would have porn ads. And
1-900.
Yeah, but they would be, and my friend Dan would record them on my office voicemail. So I get in the office, I'm like, oh, I have a mess, I put on speaker. And then I remember
1-900 suck off.
It was amazing. Now. It was amazing. They were like, are you serious about your body? Massive quads, meaty pecs. I am the dungeon master.
You might have missed your calling. You could have been like a great 90s VO guy.
For sex ads.
I used to run around New York in the 80s doing voiceovers to make my side money for my watch habit as a 9-year-old. As I loved watches, but...
As a 9-year-old?
Yeah. When I was on Broadway. Then I had to make side money
on
for
Broadway.
Like Nintendos. There's no room to dance, fortunately, for everybody.
It's unfortunate. Yeah. That's gonna finally make the podcast. It's gonna tip it over the edge, man.
Do a shuffle sidestep out.
Yeah.
Grapevine, bitches. So yeah, for watches and like Nintendo Game Boys and all the old arcade
went to 47th
cash.
Street?
I lived at 45th, 8th, and 9th. So for all that irresponsible shit, my parents made me do modeling and voiceover, like side hustle work, and that was like my play money.
What was the modeling?
Sears catalog.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Underpants section?
No. No one wants to see these bird legs, even at 8.
Surely, man. Surely there's a market.
Ask Jamie.
Did you go to Playland in Times Square?
Yes, I lived it.
I used to go there all the time.
Were you the one who mugged me? No, I think it was a Puerto Rican kid.
I was tan.
I got mugged so many times there.
Really?
Like, ridiculous. And their trick was they'd use a roll of quarters. They'd pack them into the back. And it's like, dude, if you got a full roll of quarters, you don't need to be mugging me. So I finally got pissed. I was doing, you remember the name Joshua Logan?
No.
Great old-time Broadway director, producer, did South Pacific. And,
oh, really? Okay.
And like serious stuff.
Okay.
So towards the end of his career, I did Huck and Jim on the Mississippi with him.
Were you singing?
Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing. Do you remember any of the songs? I feel like you totally do.
I know.
That is a no. Yes, I do. I'm not going to sing them.
But from doing that, I talked one of the older kids to getting me a dart, like a CO2 BB gun, but it looked like a full-on 9mm. I was so sick because I was a tiny kid. I was so sick of getting robbed.
Wait, you went to the video game Playland, the video game arcade in Times Square
with my bomber jacket,
with a bomber jacket,
with a 9mm BB gun in my pocket. Next time that fucker showed up, I turned around and drew on him. And the lady who, like the change operator, knew me by then. She's like, "That's fucking brilliant."
It was a different time then.
It was lovely. He never fucked with me again. I got to play my Space Invaders in peace.
Space Invaders, the game of choice?
One of.
What were the other ones?
Corbett? Remember
Yeah,
the triangle angle?
Gallagher,
Yes.
Centipede.
Yes.
Centipede was really like it satisfied some kind of OCD.
It sort
You
of
know,
slide
especially
and
when you
flow.
got when you positioned your shooting geezer at the bottom, and then you got like 10.
Yeah, all in a line.
and it was
that was
just
a beautiful moment. Yeah. That was a dopamine push
it
before
was,
Instagram.
It was. God, do you remember that? Like you would go up to a game and you put the quarter
Oh yeah.
on the screen, on the thing.
Oh yeah. I'm next.
Yeah.
Or if it was your favorite game, you'd have like 20 quarters lined up, and then people would want to debate your supremacy to own the game for 3 hours. But I went to PCS, Professional Children's School, up on, I think it was 57th on the west side.
For child dentists.
Love it. Yeah,
Child podiatrists.
It was the coolest community though. It was kids from like UNICEF, NATO, ambassadors, like kids with weird schedules who traveled a lot, and then Juilliard, ABT, and Broadway kids. So it was the most like globally diverse, open, amazing school community, and I miss it.
Hang on, before we immediately went down a rabbit hole. We should tell people.
Oh, hi.
Who you are.
People are listening.
Yeah, who you are.
Okay.
Who are you and what do you do?
Why are you here?
Jonathan Ward.
Hi.
Founder of Icon, TLC 4x4, originator of all manner extraordinary cars, pathologically curious,
Guilty.
watchmaker.
Yeah.
So just so people know, Ward and I have just met, but we've become instant friends. And you said, I'll do your podcast, but only if I do a hat making class with you.
Oh, I didn't leverage it like that.
It was
come on
brutal.
now. No, I said,
started
look,
sobbing.
I'll do your silly podcast.
Your stupid podcast.
if we do it in person. I'm not doing it in Zoom.
Right.
Because we had already been like Instagram-y friendy.
Yeah.
And I just sensed an energy to you that I really
A
appreciated.
possibility for love.
Yes. Jamie's like, please, yes. You go now. So no, you were a great excuse to come to my old hood. And
did you live in East Village?
No, 45th, 8th, and 9th.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, it was Hell's Kitchen Boy.
So we did the hat making class. I was just bamboozled. I was confused as to why and what. And then when I got there, I was so into it. But what I did see, man, is your pathological urge. It's uncontrollable to see things that need to be fixed and made better, and to fix them or make them better.
Or understand how it was made and why it was made that way and what are the tools used. I'm a serial craftsman. My whole life, I've studied all sorts of different arts, most of them lost. And that's kind of what I want to do for the rest of my life, is travel the world and dive deep into different skill sets and crafts.
What was the first kind of... when was the first time that happened? And what was the first kind of lost art that you came across?
Well, I was a big Lego kid, shocker.
Yeah.
And then I remember my parents gave me one of those flip clocks.
Oh, I love
And
those.
I just loved it. So I took it apart to figure it out.
Okay.
And then ruined it. And then actually 2 years later, I did manage to get it back together. And our crappy old building had a garbage chute room on every floor.
Yeah.
And I'd go through every floor every day because people were throwing away stuff that made no sense to me, like kick-ass, late 70s, ridiculous, absurd boom boxes.
Yeah, the massive ones.
Yeah. So I'd be like, all right, why is this in the trash? Figure out what's wrong with it. I'd fix it. And then I'd take it to, I was doing Peter Pan on Broadway at the time, and I'd take it and sell it to like the chorus people or the guys in the orchestra or the doorman, backstage door. I'm like, hey, you want a boom box? And like, I love the hustle.
Well, this is something most people I would imagine don't know about you, is this the acting bit before the car bit.
Yeah.
That you don't like to talk about it.
Not too much.
But we were talking about it briefly yesterday. I mean, it's part of who you are. I mean, it's part of, that's like your videos are endlessly kind of entertaining. You have this kind of gruff, no nonsense online persona that's kind of glorious to watch. When you do your video, it's like, and then you there's Art Morrison chassis, and then I can't even reel off all the shit that you say, like a double wishbone, triple Armenian toe, fingery crumble. There's all this shit that I don't even know what it means, man, but it's all massively mesmerizing to watch.
Yeah, I'll stare at this microphone and start wondering, why is that clip made of that material, and why is the tongue at that height? Like, I don't know why. And
you can't turn that off.
Raymond Loewy's book, I think it was called Never Leave Good Enough Alone or something quite similar, his autobiography.
Right.
arrogant prick, genius.
Sure.
And the way he described coming to New York as a young man is the way I felt coming to New York as a 7-year-old. I mean, I went from middle of nowhere country farm in Maryland to Hell's Kitchen in the 70s.
And Hell's Kitchen in the 70s
It was a zoo.
It was like the anus of New York. I mean, there were multiple ani.
It was a lovely anus.
Yeah.
No, it was a hot mess. But
Right.
like, I knew the pimp, the stripper lived next door. You know, like there was great sense of melting pot.
Sure.
Right? That I fear much of American culture and New York arguably as well is sort of starting to lose.
I would completely agree
Everyone,
with that about New
everyone
York.
intermingled. I learned Spanish from the Puerto Ricans. You know, I learned how to eat meat properly from the brasileiros. Like it was just a melting pot, but everybody worked and learned and integrated together versus now there's like this odd separation of like, I'm right and everyone else is wrong, which is really sad. But coming to New York, architecture, design, storefronts, antique stores, pawn shops. Man, I miss pawn shops.
Yeah.
So for me,
Do you remember that?
that was that first time when I started to really sense all these details and different ways of expressing art, so many different languages.
But the reason why New York was so interesting during the 70s and 80s, even the 90s, was because it was affordable still.
Yeah.
And because it was affordable, all sorts of people could live here. And because all sorts of people lived here, you had these beautiful, unexpected collisions all the time. And I feel like now it's so much harder to live here. It takes so much more money. You don't have those collisions so much anymore.
Yeah. Or if you do, they have a switchblade.
That's right. But in the 70s and 80s, I mean, I remember I was going to school in the States in the late 80s in Boston. So I'd come here to go clubbing. And I remember, it's so funny, my memories of New York were like a...
Was this in your leather pants that you admitted earlier?
No, this is pre-leather trouser.
Pre-leather.
This is pre-leather era. But it was almost like an Edward Muybridge film. You know, like it's like, I just remember these kind of...
I love you referenced him. That story and him and Stanford and that whole history is so fascinating.
Wait, what?
to me.
Stanford, what?
Yeah. So Stanford was his financier.
Who's Stanford? I feel like this is going to be a podcast where people are going to be so
man.
are going to be so lost so quickly.
The one of the leading early
Oh, that's
American
right.
financiers
Yeah,
and
yeah.
railroad man at
Okay.
Stanford College, etc.
Yeah.
But there's a wonderful book that tells two stories at once, kind of like Devil in the White City, that tells of the World's Fair in Chicago.
Yeah, and then the serial
and
killer.
concurrent the serial killer.
a
Will
great
they make
book.
that into a movie, please? That'd
That's
be such
an
a good
amazing
one.
book.
It is.
Yeah.
So there's another one, which is Muybridge and Stanford's stories, and apparently it was a drunken dinner bet where Stanford and his colleagues, who were into fine things and horses, they said that is there a point at full gallop when a horse is actually suspended in the air?
Right.
And they had heard about Muybridge. They hired him to do it. They
I didn't know that was the connection.
yeah, and they
that's
set up
interesting.
these cool trap wires to try and figure out how to time sequence cameras. And the tech wasn't ready yet. So then Stanford was so into it, he went and brought in engineers from his railroad entities to help them develop and design the cameras that made that famous series of photos.
I feel like there is no reference I can make that you will not understand. In fact, you're going to
You got a
reference
couple by me.
No, it was probably some like 19th century English word that you've never heard.
I know,
that's
it's
all
good
I've
though.
got.
Bring
man.
it on.
That's all I've got.
Wait, but I forgot again. What's this called? I'm pointing to the finery.
Puggery.
Puggery. Yes.
Which is-
So for those that don't know, on a hat, when you have a hat band around the outside, it is called puggery.
I'm not sure if it's a puggery or puggery.
The
I like your puggery, sir.
Nice.
Like the country
puggery.
of puggery.
Shame about the face.
Okay, so we should. Well, I just want to. You, I know that at some point you were skulking around. Well, so many things, but hot rod shops
Yes. So when,
in the 80s.
yeah. So
Okay.
left New York, got moved. I went under contract with CBS and got moved to Southern California in 1984. Then I heard you can get I was 14. I heard you can get a driver's license at 15 and a half. I was like, okay, my town. I ain't leaving. And then even before I could drive, I went and bought a 55 Ford 4-door X-G-Man car with bulletproof windows.
Really?
No, they didn't roll down. It was an absolute pile of poo. But anyway, the pile of poo, I think two P's is.
It has a nice alliteration.
Yes,
You're
thank
right.
you. Oh, we're dangerous together. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So Dean Jeffries and a lot of the early sort of Rat Pack hot rod builder shops were all in the neighborhood where I lived and I worked. So Tony Nancy, I was introduced to by a hot rodding friend, and like he built like Sinatra's cars, and like one day I'm sweeping the floors there. So it was a video series we were doing. So we were 2 weeks on, 1 week off. Well,
wait, this was a TV show?
Yeah.
So what show was this? Was this
Charles in Charge?
Okay, because I looked it up.
Oh,
you as a youth.
Yeah, it's scary.
You had some strong style choices, man.
Hey, man, it was the 80s.
I know.
I didn't run the wardrobe department.
You had the big suit.
Oh, you found that's like sort of shiny tie silk. Yeah.
That was
my first fancy suit.
That was high style in the 80s.
Well, thank you. I got in pretty bad trouble with that suit. Because my parents are pretty conservative, and my dad was still in Maryland. He was a young lawyer with a new firm, so he was really busting butt. It was me that ended up bringing us to New York by a chance encounter, ended up getting that Broadway show. So my sister and my mom came with me. And then same with California, I was the one who was dragging everyone out, which really pissed my sister off for a while. My mom was cool with it because she prefers the hotter weather.
Sure.
And so I had that suit. And I was doing a series for ABC at the time. This was when I was 17, and I had recently lost my virginity, and it was like a.
What age was this?
When I was 16.
Last summer.
Yeah.
16.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was. I don't know how to say it more eloquently, but when you're 16 and it's like, whatever, you're a young man, and it's like fuck or die.
Well, you have to lose your virginity.
Yeah, it was like now, today, tonight. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I don't have a car. I don't have much community. I live in this apartment complex. Who will definitely not say no? Ah, yes. And it was a train wreck. And so I'm on.
I feel like it would actually be amazing to do a series of interviews about everyone's virginity story from a male perspective.
Oh no, bring them both in. Bring them both in, blind.
Both who? The man and the woman?
Yeah, or the two men. Or whatever.
To talk about.
Yeah, their perspective of their first experience.
I will tell you this.
It's got to be different.
Mine was in the woods in Pennsylvania to a dental hygienist. I was also 16. She was 24.
Brilliant. Well played.
And then it was over super quickly, alarmingly quickly. And then I said, that's weird. Normally I go much longer. And then she looked at me and was like, no, you don't. And I was like, okay, I don't. I didn't. This is my first time. Sorry.
So did she let you try again next week and teach you what 24-year-olds should be doing to 16-year-olds?
Yeah, it was.
Cheers.
Yeah.
So mine was miserable, and I was super bummed out. I'm like, that's what
why
everyone...
was it miserable?
In ways that are too graphic to really verbalize intelligently, but...
Okay.
Yeah. So I have like a Freudian screen memory of Bambi in the forest, so just block it out.
Okay.
But anyway, stunt coordinators, they get all the best. Right. So my stunt coordinator and I became good friends.
Wait,
he was
you have a
teaching
stunt
me how
coordinator
to drive.
for Charles in Charge?
No, it's for a different show.
For putting on the suit, you put on the suit this way.
So
what was the show?
The New Adventures of Beans Baxter. I can't believe you're making me say all this shit. That was really fun though, because I played like a teenage spy. So I got to do all sorts of cool shit.
Well,
so I learned how to drive properly, and we did a bunch of stunts that legally they wouldn't let you do anymore. But stunt coordinator asked me, and I was like, oh, you got a girlfriend? I'm like, no. He's like, so you're a virgin? I'm like, no, but... So I told him my sad story. He's like, oh, no, son, no. So he goes, you know what? I know the perfect girl for you. She's moved out here from Atlanta, Georgia. She got into the whole LA scene and drugs, and it's too much. And she's lovely, but she's lost, and I need her to get recentered. And you seem like a nice Southern boy.
You've got the shiny suit.
Yeah. So anyway, he connected me with her. Her name was Melinda. She was a penthouse playmate. So I went from the basement to the penthouse, and she She, bless her soul, she served me right and was very kind, wonderful woman. So I lie to my mom, tell her I'm going to, like, I don't know, the mall with my buddies. I didn't have buddies.
You're going to get an orange Julius.
Yeah.
Just love that.
Ended up, no, actually, no, in LA, we didn't have orange Julius, but we had, remember hot dog on a stick?
I thought that was a medical disorder.
No.
I don't know what that is.
It creates them because if you ever see the poor bastards that work there, they have to wear these horrendous outfits. And then, like, the visual is there's a big churning bin where they hand churn the lemonade. You've never seen a hot dog on a stick? It's like iconically wrong and wonderful all in the same phrase.
No.
So they would always make the poor women churn because then they would draw more crowds while the women in these horrible outfits, their boobies are bouncing around while they're churning the lemonade.
Okay.
Long story. But anyway, I went out with that playmate to a movie opening, and next thing I know, National Enquirer, I'm in line with my mom at like a Ralph's Market, and I'm on the front of National Enquirer in this stupid shark suit next to Queen Cleavage. And my mom was so pissed. So my dad was, when he came to visit us next, like the second he came off the Amtrak, my mom's like, you've got to talk to your son.
But why was that front page national? That's actually, I feel like that's really a bucket list achievement to be on the front page of National Enquirer.
It made no sense,
And
frankly.
you weren't even a werewolf?
No, I wasn't even in the damn movie, but it was like just a bunch of us going. It was like a monster movie, so they had all the characters and stuff going on. So I got in trouble with my.
Okay, hang on. We started off at the hot rod shops, and we ended up on the cover of National Enquirer.
That's my life, man. Like seriously,
it's
like there's been a series. It's been a phenomenal, incredible, like lily pad to lily pad. Like I never knew what opportunity would lead to the next thing. I never thought that the skill sets, for example, of being a child actor would have any relevance in life. Right. But the ability to communicate and read a room and the curiosity and all the sensitivities that New York gave me, it's been amazing.
Sure that I would be willing to bet that was critical in your early success with TLC when you were making the FJ Cruisers, because you had to. You have to be, when you're doing something unusual like that and you're doing something new like that, people have to believe in you.
Yeah.
And if you have this confidence that you had from being an actor and this ability to communicate, to empathize, to read the room, all the rest of it, that I'm sure helped in a big way.
Also, my idea wasn't that brilliant at all. Just at that time, four-wheel drive, especially them Japanese Jeep Toyota things, weren't getting full love. So mostly Americans who actually travel knew the value and had shared experiences in them as I did.
Well, I think you're selling yourself short.
Well,
because look, there's
all I did is take traditional classic restoration and integrity and quality work and apply it to a four-wheel drive platform. That's really all I did with TLC.
Yeah, but that's one of those things where no one saw that possibility.
Yeah.
Like people said, yeah, you can restore a Ferrari, but why would you restore an FJ Cruiser?
Even Mr. Toyota, when he came to visit the shop, thought we were out of our minds. Like, wait, you guys have people who pay you to take these things apart and put them back together?
So wait,
like
how did you get Toyota-san to come to your? How does that happen?
Another one of those lily pad weirdo combination of factors. Well, first of all, how did TLC happen?
Okay, go on. Start at the beginning.
Was a $1,000 drunken bet with a business professor and a fellow student at USC. And I have no degrees, by the way. It was a night class.
So the bet was?
The bet was, I said, hey, with this new intranet thingy that's coming out, or I think...
When was this?
This is 99-ish.
Okay.
And 98, 99. I said, you know what? If you can control the supply, I think there's these new tools where you can create the demand. So supply and demand, what if you flipped it and look at it a different way? And they said, oh, you're an idiot. I said, no, I'm not. I believe in it. I know I can do it. So it was a $1,000 bet to drive a trackable market up 30 points within, I think I was given 2 quarters. and at the time I was on hiatus, didn't have work. So I'd hop in my old 65 F-250 Ford and I'd travel the Southwest and like pick up the thrifty nickel and the recycler and like old mining towns like in Globe, Arizona, and just start buying up old FJ40s. Just buy the nicest ones I could find, ship them back to LA.
And
a friend with an 18-wheeler.
What do they cost at that point?
$2,000, $3,000,
Right.
$1,500.
Amazing.
Yeah. And all I do is dial them in, put them back out on the market.
So when you say dial in, what did you do?
Well, in the beginning, I was a lot smarter than I am today because I would just buy the finest examples I could find, detail them, clean anything, service anything that needed to be serviced, and just leave them salvation original, but cherry pick the best ones. Then over time, I got bored and less intelligent and wanted to do more and more restoration to a deeper and deeper level. And then after the Toyota job, doing the first 3 pre-production prototypes that became the FJ Cruiser, that gave
hang
me...
on.
That gave me a
See, the problem is, man, you've done so much shit that you just kind of gloss over these fucking massive nuggets of information. So, okay, let's just backtrack. Hold on, Ward. So you start doing these FJs, and presumably you win your bet 2 quarters, and then
They wouldn't pay me, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, they're like, we're joking. It's like, oh, fuck.
See,
but it's a
right
business.
there, lawsuit.
Yeah. Boom.
So you're doing this, then Toyota notices?
So I'm doing this, and my wife used to be in music management, and one of the investors in a restaurant group that agency was working with, whatever, was this guy, New York City schmata world guy named Mickey. So I'd never met Mickey. Early on, when we opened TLC, some town car pulls up, and out walks this very New Yorky guy. And he walks in. My wife was in the front office. We've learned to hide her from the customers now. She does not belong in customer service. Right. Mickey walks in. She starts talking to him. I know you. He goes, no, you don't know me. She goes, no, I know your voice. I know you. Are you Mickey? And he lost his shit. So his name is Mickey Drexler.
So for people who don't know, Mickey Drexler ran the
legend.
Gap.
Yeah, the Gap, Old Navy, Banana Republic, and then he bailed from there. Then he went to J. Crew and on the board at Apple and all sorts of interesting stuff. But just one of those guys who's followed his gut to great success, and he just has these secret skills. Everything from like if he sees something, he'll immediately go yes, no, or I really don't have an opinion. He's not afraid. Like we were talking about that yesterday. Like it's a beautiful thing. It's a maturity to say, I don't know. Let me look into it. Or that's not really my thing. So I'm the wrong dude to ask or whatever. So Mickey is the one who introduced me to Mr. Toyota. And then Mickey also is the one I went back to after the FJ Cruiser job.
But how did he know about the Toyota? Did he just came by to buy
Mickey
one?
saw us in I think we were in Men's Journal or some magazine. And on his flight out to LA, he read the magazine, tore it out, made note, and then just showed up on our doorstep.
Totally randomly.
Totally random.
It's amazing.
And it turned out Jamie knew him, and then he was lovely, and he bought over the years many. But at that time, we did a dead stock FJ40 restoration for him. Then, again, serendipity, I don't know why he was meeting with Mr. Toyota. And it's Toyoda, by the way.
Yeah.
And he mentioned us, and at that time they were trying to understand why Land Rover was killing it with heritage marketing. Because, Japan, Toyota slogan, moving forward, all that, you never reference your past successes. It's like a big no-no.
Sure.
And then there's all these cultural sensitivities, even in their textiles and various art forms, that young designers today are, I think, just starting to not reference, copy isn't a fair word, elevate traditional crafts from other cultures, and they're actually starting to look back on their own history book and regenerate and modernize these classic arts, which I love Japan for that.
Same.
For many reasons. But so that's how
so then they came to you and then they wanted they wanted to relaunch the FJ Cruiser.
They wanted to relaunch, they wanted to reference the old Toyota Land Cruiser.
So what part did you play in that?
So I had been banging on the door in Toyota Brazil. So Toyota had a factory.
I love the word Brazil.
Brazil. I love Brazil. So in São Bernardo do Campo, outside of Sao Paulo, was this really old Toyota factory. And in fact, it was the first Toyota factory in Brazil. And it was done as like a government co-op create job thing. So what they did is in 1958, when the Toyota Land Cruiser launched for the world, with the FJ25 was the first one. They duplicated all of the tooling and machinery and processes. No one knows this. Like, it was never talked about, and people are hip to it now. But they copied that factory and all the tooling and sent a separate set to Brazil. Now then, Brazil never exported them, ever. But they've been making them for like Department of Water and Power and military and police and rail company and farmers and ranchers, etc. And it's known as the Bandeirante. Now, it was kind of like that turtle that gets left on the Galapagos. So there's no outside influence, and it evolves strictly based on its native environment. Well, that's what happened with the Land Cruiser in Brazil, because they never exported. So they did really cool body style variations and like a 4-door crew cab pickup and stuff that we never got in the US. And up until they finally, unfortunately, closed the factory and destroyed all the tooling. But at that time, I had already gone to Brazil 2 times, begging Toyota, even at the dealer level and corporate, to export these bodies to me. Because they're like, well, shit, if I can get a brand new body, especially these crew cabs and cool variant bodies, well, hell, I can use an original FJ40 US titled chassis, rebody it. It'll be more efficient, higher quality.
And legal.
Yeah. Right. So I wanted to do that. So when Mr. Toyota showed up, again, like by chance, beautiful, hired me to do the FJ, it was because they knew I had a better connection to the sort of their heritage than they did.
I mean, that's extraordinary for a variety of reasons, but first and foremost because he had the kind of the humility and the intelligence and insight to understand that someone outside of the company saw things clearer than someone inside the company. I mean, that's very unusual. It strikes me. So
I think he also is a very unique man as a CEO of a global company. You know, he made his way up through the ranks, like starting at NUMMI, which was New United Motors, which was up in Fremont, California, where Tesla ended up with a factory, where they did Pontiac GM sort of learned from each other product development. So he's always been very, very progressive, and he was quite the gentleman. It was lovely to work with.
So you built prototypes of the FJ Cruiser.
Yeah.
And were the prototypes that you built, did those things look like the final product
in
the end?
No, not at all.
Nothing like
the triple wipers and the headlight bezel is about all I can have any credit to say I kind of sort of led that. No, they were, I talked him into going to Brazil. So we went to Brazil to that factory. And that's how I finally got approval. Also, I was exporting container loads of them. And that's what we based the protos. So we did a 4-door crew cab. We did an FJ43, which is a longer wheelbase. And then we did a soft top classic style FJ40. Then we worked with the Tacoma plant in Fremont. And we used all Tacoma underpinnings. So I'd go to the California plant. Nope. All Toyota. So I'd pick out all what I wanted from that factory. Then we flew to Brazil, picked out what I wanted from that factory, studied a couple of the Arakawa plant in Japan, which is where Arako, it's called now, is actually owned by Toyota, but back in the day it was called Arakawa. And Arakawa did 18-wheelers, forklifts, military vehicles, and Land Cruisers. So there's a reason why the ethic, the quality of the Land Cruiser, well beyond the quality of your general Toyota, they're bulletproof. They're bombs.
Okay, so you made this. I feel like 2 things. One is, are you into bossa nova?
Yeah.
Massively into bossa nova.
João Gilberto.
Oh, yeah, man. I'm just saying that. All the João Gilberto. I like just... And
that Girl from Ipanema album with Sinatra and Getz.
The Stan Getz.
The whole Stan Getz story in Brazil and what he did. And, when he came back, the immediate impact he had on early American jazz is an amazing story.
That album.
I think we've lost everyone who's listening, unless there's ADHD, multilingual as we are. Like, I love this shit, though. That's why I love you. Like, there's so many things we can geek out on together. Danger.
We have sunk the podcast single-handedly. This is the last, for everyone listening, if there's anyone listening, this is the last podcast you'll hear. Okay, so
Mikhail's going to be like, it was supposed to be about cars.
All right, so I'm wrangling. So I would love to go down a bossa nova wormhole. We'll do that at lunch. So okay, so you make these prototypes. You've been making these FJ sort of sprucing up old FJs. At what point do you the wormhole open up and suck you into it, which involves my favorite, is it Art Morrison? Mm-hmm. There's Art Morrison chassis and the kind of the crazy OCD gloriousness that has become what your company is. Like machine engineering knobs and knurling and yeah.
Okay, so I was honestly kind of getting bored with TLC because by definition we had a low ceiling in the definition of what the brand was. But I also felt at the birth of the internet with that brand, again going back to the business school class bet, was that I need to be hyper specific about what it is we do and what we don't do. So we did dead stock with maybe we go from drum to disc brakes and put in slightly smoother leaf
So that was
springs.
the brand.
That was the brand.
You know what's interesting, man? Sorry to interrupt, but you are someone who inherently really understands the power of singular concepts and branding. I don't know if you're aware, or I'm sure you are aware, but it's really interesting to me because as a person who used to work in advertising, the way you've split up your things, so in Icon, and I'm jumping ahead a bit, but you have reformers, derelicts, thrift master. You have these specific ideas, these little tiny boxes you've built for yourself. And
it's a stupid shit. I fall asleep literally rotating a 3D imaginary model in my head and tweaking and changing the chamfer and dialing it in. And it's when it gets to the point, if it's
you must be a tiger in bed.
A chair.
Hang on. I'm just rotating a 3D model. I'll be back in a minute.
I'll be right at it. No, I can turn that off and turn that on pretty quick to my wife's chagrin. No, it could be a watch design. It could be architecture. It could be furniture.
Yeah, I know, but in the context of
but
Icon...
if I can't sleep anymore or I wake up in the morning and it's again the first thing, that's when I know, okay, I have to realize if I can commercialize it, great. If I can't and I have one absurdly expensive chair, so be it. But if it keeps me up at night, that's when I know to maintain the remains of my sanity. I must get it out of my head and see it created.
But it seems to me you like the idea of series.
Honestly, no.
No?
I don't think I intrinsically
My whole insight is blown.
do. Well, the thing is for this absurd business born from the mind of a singular lunatic, for it to be a viable business, I must do series.
But series are also more interesting because when you do your Thrift Master or Derelict...
No, they put a leash on me in a series. My own team does. Because if I'm constantly geeking and changing the formula, it's not a series, and then it's just a money pit of constant R&D.
Well, yes and no, because on those cars, if I may push back, sir, on those cars, for instance, let's take the Derelicts, my all-time favorites. And we should explain what this is. The Derelict, you should explain. Why don't the man who made it explain?
Well, I mean, again, because we just started geeking out. We were geeking out before they were pressing record. So I have an automotive brand that is basically revisiting classic transportation design in a modern context. So I grew up in SoCal hot rod culture. My dad was always a car geek. My grandfather on my mother's side owned an old Texaco station in the Chesapeake and a little used car lot, so it's sort of in my blood. But I was seeing opportunities to create new marriages of old and new in ways I hadn't seen anyone doing it. So TLC, I was getting a little bit bored, and then I started Icon, and Icon was started in part because there's so many different forms of art that I love and have studied in and really enjoy. So leathercraft and woodworking. And it became a really interesting, extroverted communication tool that combines so many arts that I dig in a beautifully cohesive way, if you did it right, that was so usable. And that's what drew me to transportation design as a quasi career, almost legit. And then Icon was, okay, I hate leaf springs and I'm tired of the martyrdom of vintage. I was seeing more and more people that loved the look of the FJ40, but had zero patience for carburetors, 3 on the tree, drum brakes. They're like, no. Like, it's kind of like the people see the glory image, the rosy eyes of memory, and then they would buy one. And then after 10 or 20 months, like, this sucks.
They'd see the oil leak on the garage floor.
And they're like, okay, reality check. You know? So after the Toyota experience, visiting and working with Toyota teams and visiting their factories and seeing all these beautiful efficiency exploitations, combined with what I felt the automotive industry from the big boys were not doing, which was any passion or continuity in the vehicle. Because like the girl who designed the sunroof never met the dude who designed the dash pad, et cetera, et cetera. It's 30 billion different suppliers all over the planet. So that cohesion, that man-machine visceral relationship that we celebrate in cars wasn't even offered to the general public mass consumer. So it was all those things combined that led to the idea of Icon. So right after the Toyota contract was done, I was like, all right, from what I've learned, combined with my love for Art Morrison from my hot rod days, and not liking pro touring or pro street or hot rod or street rod and all the different sort of silos everyone wanted everyone to fit into, I had my own vision of how I wanted to do it. I didn't know any better. So I took the money I made from Toyota and I made it.
There is great joy and there's great genius in not knowing.
Oh, I used to be super self-conscious about it. Now I'm like, hell yeah.
No, what I mean
is
that. What I mean is the ignorance
is bliss.
Is power.
It's power.
It's because
you don't have blinders on.
Yeah, like me trying to start a clothing brand and me trying to make a watch because I don't know anything about how hard it may or may not be. I just think, well, why can't you do it? And then after you've done it, you look back, okay, that was sort of stupid and dumb and crazy to try. But you don't know that stuff going in.
And I don't even feel, even when I fail, there's value in the failure. For sure. You know?
Okay, but you had this insight. People want this kind of the beauty and romance of vintage without all the irritating shit.
Yeah.
Which is genius. But then for me, that's what I was saying earlier. The way you've expanded that idea into these kind of sub brands, that's really interesting.
And not like intelligently SWOT analyzed focus group.
No, you're just
nothing.
doing shit you like.
Just doing shit I like.
But
the whole Derelict series started because of a station wagon I built for myself, and it wasn't until after it was done. Actually, an Icon FJ wasn't ready yet, and there was a car show, and I called. It was at the Art Center. Yeah. Stuart used to do a kick-ass show. Yeah. And they do it now, but not for the public, which sucks. I hope they bring it back. But anyway, I said, oh, it's not ready. Can I bring something else? Yeah, whatever. And then it won a big award at the show. Then it was on the cover of Hot Rod. And then my dumbass is like, oh, that was really fun to build and people actually dig it. Like,
so
that could be Icon. That's just another tweak.
The Derelict series of Icon are cars from the 40s, 50s, 30s, any particular era that they're kind of imperfectly beautiful. They have this glorious patina on the body. And then you just take this car, because usually you think of old cars as perfectly restored, but you're taking these beautifully wizened, old, crumbly looking cars in the most glorious possible way, and then you make them perfect inside.
Yeah, in and under.
Yeah, and under.
So we'll find the right patina and body integrity and shape language that we love, or ideally that our client loves. Then we'll laser scan it and convert that poly data to true surface, so we understand the dimensional tolerances of the car. Then we'll engineer the chassis.
You just opened some door and like a tsunami of gibberish fell out of it.
It flowed, though. You're with me.
I was with you, man.
You get a pretty 3D image of the car, minus all the mechanical bits.
Yeah.
Then engineer the chassis using trusted, known, well-distributed, proven content parts. Make them unique to the track width and wheelbase of that car. And then it's a deep dive, usually with the client, of, okay, what are you looking for in style? Do you want it to be Jekyll and Hyde? Do you want it to be super chill retro feeling? Do you want it to just be downright monster? So everything down to 12-to-1 rack or 20-to-1 rack, all the ratios.
I don't know what that is.
Like steering ratios.
Okay.
So do you want it super twitchy race car? Or do you want it like 50s cruising with one hand, waltzing in a straight line? And then we try to create these, I think they're like highly functional sculptures.
Right.
And we'll have no regard for accuracy. We'll have plenty of respect for, but no constraint to using the same original material. Like We'll do wild caught alligator interiors and Laura Piana cashmere headliners and just stupid shit. I use a lot of textiles from high-end furniture world like Maharam or Knoll for outdoor patio furniture and Chilliwack. Yeah. Because if you look at the technical ratings of those class of materials, the UV, antimicrobial, antibacterial, the dry rub,
the
rating.
Weisenberg dry. Oh, is it the Weisenberg double rub?
Yes.
You know, I'm amazed. I remember that. I remember seeing
From
that.
the trouser dude probably talking.
No, I remember seeing that like 20 years ago, and it became an in-joke between my friends for years, the Weisenberg double rub.
So all those ratings for that class of goods is higher than what's deemed acceptable for automotive.
Right.
And it's so much more interesting
Sure.
because automotive is like a race to the bottom, the cheapest possible scalable price. And what we do is so horribly cost ineffective anyway that, again, not knowing better, I'm like, well, then shit, I don't need $3 a yard. I can totally do
$40 a yard.
400 a yard.
Oh.
It's not that many yards, and it makes such a different
Right.
like if you're in a car with a Laura Piana headliner, like if you just look at it, it looks like an old boiled wool headliner.
Sure.
But then you touch it. You know what I mean? Like the tactile,
I'm
it
just
elevates
I'm
the
just going to the
experience.
garage to touch the Laura Piano headline. I'll be right back.
Hell yeah.
Man, I am dying to see these cars. Look, let me ask you this. Have you never been interested in doing like a derelict of a European car, of any kind of European car?
Sure, I've done them.
Did you do the Mercedes as a...
Yeah, so we just recently released a 71300 SEL Mercedes derelict.
Okay.
And then prior to that, we did a 58 Rolls Silver Cloud.
What? Oh, you know what you did?
A Fiat Gardinero or Jardinero.
You did... Didn't you do...
VW thing.
No.
That's Mexican.
Didn't you do like a Caprice Classic?
Yeah, no one knows about that. How'd you know that?
Oh man, I saw that and I thought that is fucking genius because actually I think that shape is weirdly fantastic.
There's actually a great story behind that. So
It was a what?
do you know of?
No, wasn't it on the web for a while? Has it
For
disappeared?
for a nanosecond.
I saw it and I was like, holy shit, this is genius.
So
What year Classic was it?
it was a 96
Yeah.
ex-Miami-Dade DEA
Yeah.
undercover, right?
Yeah.
Like you're undercover in a Caprice. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever makes you feel better.
Yeah.
But the client's brothers, my memory's pretty good. I believe it was his brother had unfortunately passed away in a plane crash.
Okay.
They had multiple business responsibilities in North America, but he refused to ever fly again. So he had tried like the Sprinter van mobile office situation. They ride like shit. He hated it. It was too high profile. So the idea was, he said, look, I want something that is flat out, these were his words, fuck you fast. Like, he goes, basically, I'm going to give you a sentence that'll drive the principal design sheet. Get the fuck out of my lane. That was the driving mandate of that car. Would you say I nailed it with what you remember the look?
Yeah, I think because what else would say that other than like a fucking mid-90s
But it was
Caprice?
like, it had all of this weird James Bond shit going on. It was a full mobile office.
It was black.
black on black on black
Yeah,
on black,
that's right,
but
I
like
remember.
custom heated vented Recaros. And I think I did a LS7, a blown LS7 in that one. And custom chassis. I got rid of all the exterior plastic, machined the stock grills all in billet and DLC coated or PVD coated it. So it was super stealth and had like a nasty push bar, hidden lightings, again, like some James Bond buttons
Radar
and stuff.
jammer.
It did.
Really?
And it had
Amazing.
FLIR.
What?
Yeah.
Forward-looking infrared?
Yeah, something
Forward
like that.
lean? No,
yeah,
forward
I think
looking.
you're forward-
Yeah.
yeah,
Also, but
yeah.
just for... So it's like having a minor stroke.
So problem was, the whole point was to be invisible.
Right.
And like, is that military? What is it? Whatever you see the flashing lights, you get the fuck out of his lane.
Genius, man.
But then I was stoked. It was kind of a weird car because I am anti-90s, especially American. It's just plastic on plastic. It's just shit.
Yeah, but that's an opportunity to take something and then infuse it with ward lunacy.
But at the end, it's like doing a Land Rover Defender. There's so many constraints in the original design, ethic, and quality that they will stay with it.
Right.
So now I pretty much am only doing 70s to late 30s once we got past wooden substructure in automotive, because that's a big constraint. We can machine truss-like pieces and reskin a car back to it, but at crazy expense and time sucks. So yeah, like mostly 30s to early 70s is our current focus. So that video came out And we mentioned it like in our newsletter
Wait, which video?
of the Capris.
Oh, yeah.
And the press jumped all over it and suddenly it was everywhere. And the client called me freaking out.
Because he wanted to be stealth.
Yeah. So we deleted the video. We took
Right.
it off. It got like a quarter mil or whatever. It got a bunch of views in like a week. And then it's no longer anywhere. Like it disappeared.
I saw it, man, and I was mesmerized by that because it was entirely unexpected.
Yeah, but you like quartz watches. So you like
don't know why
90s Chevy Caprices.
I don't know why you're against the quartz watch.
I'm going to change you over time. You have such a deep appreciation. We just have to get you on the inside, and all the gears and the mechanisms.
I know it's true. I'm a shallow
balance
bastard.
of friction and yeah.
I'm a shallow bastard, man. I mean, it's all aesthetics. Like I don't really understand how things work. I'm not that concerned.
Then you haven't seen the right movement under a loop. It can still just be about aesthetics, and it's magic.
Okay. All right. I'm
quartz
totally.
to me is just it's.
Have you seen a Beta 21?
Yes.
That is like
I know, gorgeous.
That is
if
like,
it had an actual proper movement made by skilled
no, I'm
craftsmen,
talking about I'm talking about the movement.
Oh no, I haven't seen the movement.
It's like Apollo 11 shit in there.
I saw one of those. You're the only person I've ever seen who referenced that watch. I saw it at a watch show or at some event.
Which watch?
In Monaco.
A Beta 21?
Yeah.
I have 3.
I know you do.
Yeah, I love
And then
those
it was
things.
years later when I first started following you and I saw you and I'm like, oh yeah, I remember those. They're so cool.
They're amazing. Yeah. All right, so
but there's like only one dude on the planet who can still fix them, right? Aren't they a bitch?
Yeah, I brought it to it's Alkis, who's a lovely Greek gentleman in Midtown, Swiss watch repair. Brought it to him. He fixed it. I mean, it's it tells time-ish. It's like after about a week, it's a few minutes fast. Well, but I feel like you're not buying an old watch for accuracy.
I don't know. I get.
You take umbrage with that comment.
I do. Yeah. Well, like if it's like I like transition watches from like World War I era, and I have a ton of those, and I'll give those a 5 to 8 minute slop tolerance in a day.
Okay.
But beyond that, no, it's still a tool.
Right. I know, but I don't know. I guess I feel more. I'm less tolerant of things working in the. I want it to work-ish in the watches. I want things to work properly in cars.
Okay, so you pick your battles.
Yeah.
So I still have that OCD demand on most things. Like chairs, I'm fascinated.
I love chairs.
Singularly as a design study, it's endless, right?
Yeah.
But when you sit in a chair and the fucking thing's not comfortable, off with your head. Like, all right, who designed this? Like, you have one fucking job. It's to make my ass comfortable when I am in it. That's it. It's like watches when they get too avant-garde and you can't tell the fucking time.
That discounts almost all mid-century modern furniture.
No, the Danes had good seating.
Well, okay, but I would say that
the chieftain,
the Bertoya stuff is beautiful to look at. And I used to have all of that stuff in my room. I used to collect that stuff like 20 years ago.
But you also collected young Italian models and looked at them seating and then took photos of it. See, that's different. You found a happy place.
Yeah. But it was so beautiful. Like the bird chairs, the wireframe chairs, amazing things to look at.
I see, but the Danish, I argue, don't have that affliction.
No, you're right. You're right.
So, like the chieftain chair is one of my all-time favorites.
What's the chieftain?
Oh, that's.
You're gonna have to.
I can never remember his name. He's one of my favorites
Jacobson?
too.
No,
it was. Let's see.
Arnie
Chieftain.
Before he was a cannibal, he designed chairs.
No.
No.
It was
Wegner. Hans Wegner.
Finjul.
Finjul.
Ah, great stuff.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I know that chair.
Have you ever been to the Henry Ford Museum in Detroit?
No.
Oh, it's magical.
Is it?
Yeah, because Henry was such a lunatic and had teams going around the planet. He felt responsible for the end of craftsmanship. So
really?
he had a team larger than most American museum teams traveling the world, picking up artifacts of craft. So like, they don't have
so
him
he was
on
like well, I have some other issues with him.
Oh no, total anti-Semite prick.
But, yeah, but he was like an early version of like the seed bank in where's it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In Iceland or Norway? Yeah.
Where they collected all the seeds from all over the world.
Which is super cool.
Yeah.
All the heritage seed banks. There's multiple. I think there's 3 of them now.
Right.
A friend of mine is converting their oh no, really?
Yeah, because of global warming, which is kind of weirdly ironic. We've got this thing to protect.
So did all this shit grow? They should have just like thrown some fertilizer in there and just owned it.
Like a biosphere.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
You get Pauly Shaw in there. Do you even get that joke? That's amazing. I can't believe I made that reference.
Didn't they do another? They did another growing plant thingy of some modern, some ironic comedian. It was funny as shit. I can't remember. But anyway, so Fingal
Biodome.
Chieftain chair.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Like they're crazy money now. I wanted one when they were expensive, and then I recently thought I'm gonna go for it. Oh no, I'm not.
Oh no.
No. Now they're like
Okay, so wait,
stupid.
we went up. We keep it's.
It's how we roll, man. We just have to own it.
I know it's true.
It's about us.
You're right.
At this point.
And the two people left listening. So we have you. So you're doing. Are there any cars from? There must be cars from the 30s to the 70s that you're dying to do.
Oh yeah.
So what are some of those?
Oh, it's endless. I mean, like,
Just
give me
give
a
me like
continent and a year.
Just give me
just some key favorites. 37 Lincoln Zephyr Coupe, best ass in automotive history.
I love that car.
Or the 37 Nash 3-window coupe is far less known. Actually, you could argue the front end is even more graceful. Even the up to 41, the Zephyr 4-doors are underloved and so graceful. The gauges, that waterfall center gauge cluster, and the very sort of Parisian stainless tubular seating structure, just gorgeous. I've always been a big fan of Volvo 1800 coupes. P1800s.
I had an 1800.
I had an ES I sold last year. I miss it.
I had an 1800. It was terrible to drive.
Yeah,
but
the
beautiful
shape
to look.
is just gorgeous, especially the first year that were built in England and apparently had a lot of issues, so they took it away. I believe it was Jensen, if my memory serves, that built them.
I would like to propose a car from the 80s.
Volvo Bertone.
Yes.
Boom.
Oh my god.
You smell it on you.
You complete me.
A dear friend of mine, a designer named Jace Jones, rocks one of those as his daily, and I've always loved them.
They're beautiful. They're so cool, man.
And Aston Martin Lagonda, also freak car of that era, especially the Series 3 with a full width headlights across the front.
Yeah, but the Series 1 interior.
Yes. Same with the earliest 928. Pasha with the telephone wheels. I'd love to fuck one of those up.
But what about? But hang on. Let's return to the Bertone.
Okay.
Because I feel like that's, first of all, for people who don't know, it's a Bertone did is it two-door?
Two-door.
It's two-door, brick, mid-80s, early 80s, 82 or something, coupe. They chopped the roof. I think, were they always vinyl, the roof, or were they?
No, they were both ways.
Okay.
They did them full painted or vinyl, but I believe most of the U.S. delivery cars were all ordered with the same spec with the vinyl.
Right.
And then the interior Bertone also tweaked out on. It's got that lovely kind of sofa 70s.
So what would you do to that?
It's almost got a Vandero vibe, the interior.
Who's Vandero?
Miss Vandero?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they mean the seat. Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Can you see it?
Totally. That's the Barcelona chair.
So I digitized the gauges on multiple dimension glass screens. So an eyes up, but
you haven't thought about this at all.
Not at all. But keep that kind of Marantz funky graphic it had, and it was very horizontal orientation with the slider speedo.
Yeah.
But all digital. Get rid of all the capillary tubes and all the archaic bullshit. The AC had a lot of vacuum pods and crap. Get rid of all that. Get rid of the AC vents. Take that horizontal beltline trim across the dash, machine it, make a diffused AC outlet that you never feel or see the air. It's just diffused in an even span.
Yeah.
Continue that into the doors, which would require some complex seal design to get that airflow into the door and down the spear. Then I do a diffused LED underlight that's indirect, you don't see, but creates that kind of spaceship floating.
You mean, underlight
vibe.
Outside of the car?
No.
Okay.
Never.
And spinners.
Never.
And spinners.
Yeah. You know me so well.
What about the bumpers? Because that's weird on there.
It is, but if you think about, like, normally, like a XJC is another one of my favorite, the early Jag coupes. And you look at the Euro bumpers, work great. The American ones suck.
Yeah, they were like park benches.
But I think it's a bigger challenge with Volvo because that wouldn't make any sense either. So I almost feel like
what would not make sense?
To do like the traditional Euro bumper solution and go back to a stainless or chrome. That doesn't work either.
I feel like you'd want to have no bumper at all.
Either that or just embrace the Tetrisness of the car and just make them boxy as fuck, but color code them to the body or to the vinyl roof and one-piece carbon autoclave. So they're little
And they had amazing wheels.
Yes.
Oh, I would love
All
to.
right, who do you think has the best steering wheels in automotive design
Oh,
history?
steering wheel.
It's an easy one. Citroën.
I was going to say Citroën, man. The SM,
Even the new ones the Uber drivers run in Paris have kick-ass steering wheel. They kept with that monospoke.
I actually think that Citroën, man, they're one of my all-time favorite because they're like the Salvador Dali of car makers. Mm-hmm. Like the Ami. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing, that thing.
What was the
cactus?
Yeah.
I just
Wait, that was Mark Newson did the cactus, right? I think Mark did the cactus.
Did he?
I think he did. I remember talking about it.
I like how you just drop. Are you on first name terms with Newson?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Okay, so like my favorite clients, like you can keep your movie stars. I mean, I love you guys, but the ones that really float my boat are the industrial designers that embrace my work. Makes me so happy.
Wait, did you say industrial designers that love my work?
Yeah, no, I'm saying like as far as customer base,
my favorite people are people who love everything I do.
Well, duh. I mean, you're human. Let's face it. I mean, some people may not be honest enough to say that, but it is the truth.
Do you have an IQ-Pod?
Yeah, several.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those things.
I have the Sea Slug, too. The World Time Sea Slug, best 40-pound watch in town.
Is it super heavy?
So heavy.
Do you have a Horizon?
It's stainless. No.
You need a Horizon. Have you seen one of those in person?
Yes, I have.
You don't like it?
I dig the depth. I hate golf, and it kind of has a golf reference to my brain that might irk me, but I still like them.
It's cool.
And then the one that you bought that I warned you, I believe, not to buy because the movement's a shit show. If you set the date at the wrong time, it chinks itself to death. Yeah. It's a Valjoux, but the ébauche they added, or the complication they added to the Valjoux ébauche is a problem. But they're so pretty.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
He does. I mean, I've been a Mark Newson fan for years. Starting with the Lockheed Lounge.
Mm-hmm. Magic.
Amazing.
That was the first thing actually that ever put him on my radar.
That's exactly the same for me.
And then I did a deep dive of like, who came up with this bat shit?
I mean, I remember seeing that.
And here we go. It's absurd, but it works well as a lounge. It's actually comfortable.
Have you
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
How is it in person?
It's magic. It's so cool.
How is he?
He's lovely. He's so cool. And I met him through, or was it the other way around? I forget who introduced me to who. But Johnny Ive. I think Mark first, then Johnny. And then, this is really fun. So we were talking about a top secret project that we can't talk about that you're doing this top secret, but it involves things that are right up my alley. And some of it is like advanced machining and, getting planes aligned, etc. So one day I got a call from Mark Newson. He's like, "Man, we're doing this project Red Table."
You've never spoken to him?
No, we were already acquaintances through having built a vehicle for him.
Okay.
He says, "I'm trying to find a machinist that." I'm like, "I'm sorry, stop. You are trying to find a machinist? Like you have invented machines to make the stupid shit that you've designed." Like, right. So our machinist is a out there rock star. Like they'll misinterpret and misuse CNC programming in ways that actually the tool path is defined. They'll make that the surface shape. So they'll do like fluid water aesthetic in machined aluminum and like all this crazy Yves Bahar's house, like on and on, like nutty shit. It's called Neil Fay Industries in Goleta, California.
Okay.
So I ended up connecting them, and they did. I don't know if you ever saw that funky geometric, like they again misinterpret or reinterpret's a fair way of putting it, silk screening and anodizing to create graphic effects or color fades when anodizing. So it's this massive kick-ass
I haven't seen that.
table.
That sounds amazing.
With all these different shades of grays and silvers. And the machining tolerance is so perfect, you cannot feel the seams. But it's like 60 interlocking panels. Even the legs are machined separate pieces that then dovetail and lock in together. And you can't see the seam. So cool.
Well, wait, I don't know how we got here. We end up in this particular cul-de-sac. You're going to show me
how we roll. I don't know, man.
Where were we? Why did we even start with news? Oh, you were
clients I love,
cars.
Projects we want to do, cars we dig. Oh, the cactus. It was the cactus.
That's right, the cactus. Fault. That's right. We had to do some genealogy to get back to where we started.
At least we could remember somehow, right?
You remember, man. I was lost. I was at sea. Oh, I have seen this. This is amazing.
Yeah, and you have to see it in person or in macro lenses because it's just phenomenal.
I just posted about some new table that Newson had designed.
Well, he was just here in the city launching a new chair he did with Noel.
Right.
Which we missed by a day.
He posted a picture of himself and he said, I'm launching my new chair. And I posted on his Instagram, you don't look very happy about it because he was just kind of standing there. Because we know it. He's always asking me for ideas. And no, sadly not. I mean, I would love to talk to Newson.
I think you'd hit it off.
He's a watch geezer, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's one of those people that he won't look at anything without naturally wanting to take it apart and fuck with it and reinterpret it. I love what he's done with a Lessie where and this is becoming a bigger and bigger fascination with me, is take something highly commoditized and how do you return to the art of it?
Right.
Just for the sake of the art of it. I mean, literally coat hangers. I'll geek out on the right coat hanger. I'm like, fuck yeah, look at that. Right. Like we were at...
But you can tell. You can always tell when something's been beautifully designed.
Yeah.
No matter how mundane it is. Even if it's a coat hanger, you can...
Curios, who works with our buddies that are basically our friends from the hat shop that were there. My old friends, your new friends. I went back to her shop and it's all Japanese indigo vintage.
Wait, she has a shop?
Oh, yeah, lovely.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know that.
So the coat hangers in her shop, she was laughing at me. She said, "You're so bored." I was geeking out. They were TIG welded stainless coat hangers of unnecessary precision and beauty that only Japan would go there.
Right.
It's magic.
Well, it's kind of like a nation of wards.
I'd love the opportunity to live there. We had an amazing trip.
That's my
there.
dream, man. Same.
There's artists in wood, leather, and textiles that I've befriended from our last long trip there with Cool Hunting that actually were dumb enough to offer me sort of intern designer in residence programs. And I'm so
where in Japan?
Let's see. We were in Osaka for the textiles, in a mountain village town I'm not smart enough to recall for the indigo dyeing and the woodworking arts. There's also a wire weaver in Tokyo. There's a leather tannery in Tokyo that just does indigo dyed leathers, mostly lamb, that are just so magic. Oh. I mean, being the goober, I knew we were going to go get to meet them, and I've been stalking them online for years. So I had in my bag, I had a rolled up cowhide that's the Hermes crust for shoe wear. So there's no oils and no tan, but no oils or pigments, but it's fully tanned. I carried that around for 2 months, waiting to go there to beg them to let me do procession of dye dips into their indigo vat. And I did. And it came out really cool.
I mean, who doesn't carry around a roll of...
Everyone should.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Just in case. Okay.
Same thing happened though on this trip. I found this kick-ass waxed cotton. The finish is referred to as moleskin, but really non-linear reference. But it's like a brushed and then waxed surface.
That's what they used to do the dashboards of the 246 Dino and other assorted.
I think that was a spray-on technique.
No. It's a cloth.
Oh, it is a cloth.
Yeah.
Oh, I never knew that history. I've seen it. I never really dug it.
I was
in the Ferrari.
I had to order some for I had a 246 at one point, and it got stuck in customs, and I talked to the guy. I was like, so this is how many moles are involved in this moleskin? Is it what? It's an animal thing. I was like, no, it's not real moles.
I had that problem with my watch I designed when I shipped them
Let's talk about your watch.
Canada. Customs grabbed it and they're like, oh no, alligator. I'm like, yeah, but I'm a CITES member. I have the tag of, where it was farmed. It's sustainable, yada, 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 yada. Yeah, that's great. No. So either we return the watch or we cut the strap in half and ship. I'm like, fuck, you're not cutting that strap. It geeked out on that strap design forever. I'm like, send it back. So they cut it and sent it to the client.
So totally ignored me. Let's talk about watches because this is a whole other wormhole. We've got, I feel like this could be like a 14-hour podcast.
Easily.
We just need cocaine and microphones.
Okay. I've never tried the Coke side, but I'm down with the mic. How about Scotch and Coke? Let's see what happens.
All right.
Never know. Never too late.
Drizzled on the pastries.
You catch the significance of I was a child actor in the 80s, and I've never done Coke.
I was going to ask this. It's very...
Props, bro.
I mean, how do you avoid that?
I don't know. I have plenty of friends I grew up with at that time that turned into an absolute shit show then or later.
Right.
And then I somehow just, that wasn't my crowd, my scene. It wasn't even an issue.
I feel like you have like you've got some sort of internal coke sack. Because you have so much energy.
You know probably why? I was more like, I would be geeking out with the prop maker.
Right.
Versus hanging out in my trailer
Doing
chasing
key bumps.
extras, doing key bumps. Well, I did chase the extras a little bit. But.
Okay, so let's just talk about watches for a minute because I feel like... So you designed your own watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've seen it, but I'm dying to see it in person.
I know I'm an idiot. I didn't bring it.
So do you want to talk a little bit about...
So one thing I've always felt was an opportunity is, and I know of a deep love for the beauty of gauges in transportation design or even industrial equipment, whatever, like the Manometro watch, steam, too big, but cool. So I have from going to private collections in Pebble Beach and Retromobile, all the different car stuff that I've been involved in for decades, I've always brought good camera gear, and I have an absurd library of organized photos that are exterior trim, hinges, handles. I have just badges and cloisonne and all that, like exterior little, very specific things, wood trim and gauges. Within that, this goes way back to when I was a teenager. The first Duesenberg I was ever in life next to was a SJ, one of the supercharged ones. It was just magic. And it was a two-tone boat tail, whatever. But I looked at the gauges and immediately my odd brain was like, that would make a cool watch.
How old were you then?
Like 15, 16 probably.
Yeah.
And it just stuck with me. So that Autodesk had reached out to me to switch from another CAD 3D modeling platform to try a new one they had coming out. But my engineers are, old dogs, new tricks scenario. They don't want to change platforms. But I was wanting to get better at 3D design. So I said, well, I'm in, how about me? So they sent me this Curtis Chan, this wonderful guy who's no longer with him, to be my private tutor for like a year, once a week. It's killer. So I got to, he's like, so what should we do first? Should we do suspension? And I was like, well, I kind of got a team who's better and smarter than me and already up to speed doing that. I'm like, nah, let's do a watch. So I had already had that, that nighttime 3D in my head model of trying to conceptualize that watch. And I had talked to a couple makers about having it made, and it was like one-off. So it was like stupid expensive. So I'm like, I can't afford that. So I decided to do it for this CAD exercise. So I knew what movement I wanted to use. I bugged the movement maker enough to get me just a silhouette of the CAD footprint. And that's how I taught myself Fusion 360, was modeling this watch. So you know the end of this story. By the time I finished modeling it, like I do high-end leather craft in a very traditional sense, all analog hand stitch. So I knew I was probably either the best or the most annoying, or a combination of the two client that our Swiss partner ever had. Cause like, they're like, people usually like, same with the leather stuff. I've been doing like, people like, we usually get like a napkin sketch and a budget. And I'm like, no, I've already 3D printed the prototype. Yeah. Everything's, let's go. So like I designed the clasp, the strap, the rotor, the crown, the case, the radius on the crystal, and like geeked out on every little detail to learn CAD. And then I had a really good model, and then I was like, it's got to happen. So off I went to Basel, to the big watch show, and talked to a bunch of manufacturers, and they were like, who, what? No. Like, go.
They weren't interested?
Oh, God, no. It's like, you want to do how many? Oh, no, son.
How many did you want to make?
50.
Okay.
And they're like, no. So it was either going to be a 6-digit absurd thing, which I worried people would perceive in the wrong way. And I didn't want to go there. Plus, I wouldn't be able to afford to keep one. And then I had one last meeting at this show, and she's giving me like the 10-minute cubicle sweet talk. And then like, how many? Okay, thank you so much. Nice to meet you. This guy walks in. It turns out he's the owner of the company. He was just doing the glad handing to people. And he stopped and he goes, I know you. And he's a car geek, and he followed our YouTube channel or something. I don't remember. Oh, no. Client of his in Russia had one of our FJs. And then he looked into the brand and goes, you don't do watches? Like, why are you here? And I said, I got this idea. I don't want to do it. And he said, no, we're going to work together. You're my kind of geek. Like, you get it. I get it. We can make this happen.
Right.
And they were amazing. Of course, Swiss, so incredibly overcomplicated. Shielded purchase orders that ended up in Asia, but come through Italy or through Switzerland. And then they call it Swiss made and ended up being expensive, but it was so much fun to do.
So you made 50.
Yeah, I made 50 of them, and they're designed after this very unique. So it's a jump hour
right?
watch, which I love jump hours. Super simple. I designed the font myself, and that's another thing with watches. Like when the font on the date window versus the hours versus the branding versus the case back, they're like 10 different fonts. What the fuck?
I'm with you all the way, man.
Kills me.
As an ex-art director, the whole typography thing is
That's a
horrifying.
whole another world.
It's just it's.
But why don't fine watch brands get that?
I don't understand. I mean, I would. You look at contemporary Patek stuff, and the typography it's a crime against humanity.
It's whatever their Adobe suite defaulted to.
Yeah, I feel like they're just picking stuff up. I know we have to wrap it up.
No, I'm not looking at the time. I was going to see, because as much I love Restomod, and I was just seeing if he geeked out. No, fucker. So his hour is a different font than his minute wheel. And now that I've seen that, I can never unsee that.
Wait, what?
Yes. Different font.
I've got to put on the glasses.
The one's always the easiest one to reference. So anyway, that was so much fun. I have another watch in development right now. I have like 10 renders I'm dying to do. They're all going to be referencing different times of automotive history. One's called the Torino.
Wait, you're going to do a new series of watches?
Well, you're going to talk Jamie into letting me do a series.
For everyone who doesn't know, Jamie is Jonathan's wife.
And he believes I have some.
He believes I have some sort of hypnotic power to convince.
I think you might. I don't know.
So wait, you want to do a new series of watches based on...
I just want to keep being able to do watches.
Right.
And I want to try and get the price point down, because the doozy was $11,500.
Right.
And
how did that go? Was that successful?
Yeah, it did great. I think I held back some, and I just reposted them on the site. I think I have 5 or 6 left.
No shit.
Yeah.
That's a huge success, man.
Yeah, I'm thrilled. And,
I mean,
I now want to explore it and keep going and do other ones.
Right. I have so many ideas. I mean, for me,
that's the problem.
Well,
guys like us, we're full of ideas, but then like you gotta some point focus, which I haven't figured out yet.
After this, I'm gonna show you something that I saw that I think is just so interesting. But the thing for me, I'm interested entirely in the sculptural aspect, because I feel like what's happened to watches now, particularly with independent brands, is they are so complicated and so busy. And I love a busy watch. I mean, we like Icopod. That was,
But you can tell the time. When it's busy for the sake of busyness, that just kills me.
Yeah, I mean, also I just sort of feel like it's a fashion. Like the skeletonized, multi-floating dial thing is just I feel like everyone seems to be doing that. And so I'm so interested in
the
kind
like the brass, bronze, silica thing. Everyone jumps on the bandwagon.
And I'm so into the kind of the 70s. Just kind of, there's just a beautiful. I mean, everyone's heard me blather on about this endlessly. Like this kind of sculptural, monolithic beauty. Just a lot of shit in the 70s. Mm-hmm. Watches, sofas. I mean, you look at what sofa design was in the 70s. I know it's a weird thing to talk about, but they're amazing.
Oh no, I'm totally with you.
Yeah,
but for example, if you look at transportation design in the 70s, where'd the inspiration go?
Yeah,
it went to focus groups, shareholder meetings, and pencil pushers. So I think I actually like to reference other. Okay, for example, we're doing a 70s Superbird. The big crazy race with silly wing and shit.
Yeah.
But the detail of it, the execution is just shit. It's just plastic on plastic on vinyl, and it's just the interiors are just nothing. So for that project, when the client said, "What I really want to do is a Superbird," I'm like, "That'd be really fun, but like we gotta fuck it up." So I went and bought 1969 through 71 industrial design yearbooks in furniture and architecture and electronics and homewares, and like ended up focusing, and we decided that the sort of revisionist history theoretical shoes I would put myself in to create the constraints for the design, Van der Rohe. So if Vanderohe had been on the design team at the time in Detroit,
Right.
what would he have done with
What would
all these
Vanderohe do?
elements? Oh, it's so much fun to do that. I love playing revisionist history with design. And like for the Thrift Master, I put myself in the Lowy shoes. You know, the pointed
That's true.
wooden tips and all
That's
those
right.
details. And I redesign all the seat hardware and the knobs and the switch gears and the gauges and the typography and all that. And it's shit's so much fun. It's just fun. It's amazing they call
You're
it
also
a job.
haven't you also fallen down like you're down a leather goods wormhole.
Yes.
Veg died.
Yeah. And so that's a good parlay into my gift.
Are you going to do this live?
Yeah, why not?
Or
You just have to fake appreciate it. It's all good. All right, so next
Oh,
year,
man.
I'm gonna
this is holy shit. This
smell
is
it, sniff it. Oh,
This is
very
amazing. Okay,
good.
so for people not watching the YouTube when you're really missing out, Ward has made and given me this fucking amazing veg dyed backpack. This is glorious. Oh man, that is
So on the inside, it's all so it's there's
This
no
is amazing.
chromium or nasty chemicals involved. It's done very traditionally. The design language is called a randosiru, which is a traditional
This is a
Japanese
Japanese backpack.
Yes.
Schoolgirl.
Yeah, no, it's incredible. Yeah. So it was like a ceremonial Japanese thing
Yeah.
where at the first day of school, a child was gifted one of these.
Man,
They would
this
get
is-
another one when they came out of 6th grade.
This is fucking crazy because I love these things and I was trying to buy Lulu one for school because she
cute.
loves them too. This is weird, man. I feel like maybe we've been secretly friends for decades, but we were
I agree.
unaware.
So I
Oh,
scaled
man.
it up and made it fit modern laptops and stuff, and then it's fully lined. But the
This is
edges
amazing.
are all burnished and filatused and creased. So you'll notice a fine detail like
Wait,
impression
what?
line.
Wait, what?
So it's a tool called a filatuse that's abandoned in modern production because it's inefficient, but
Yeah.
it's subtle detail. So you see around any of the pieces or even the main body, there's like a crease line. Like look on the strap here.
Right.
It creates that little crease.
This is
But not only the crease, because then you use a hand tool and you French edge it. You bevel the edge. And then see how none of the edges have ugly flesh dead cow fibers?
Yeah.
It's got like a sheen. It almost looks like wood.
Yeah.
So that's called burnishing. And that too in production is lost. So what I'm trying to do, as I always do, is combine and revive lost arts, get consumers to give a shit
Does that-
and
did-
poke an eye in the veneer.
I was gonna say, does that come up, man?
Poke an eye in the veneer of modern luxury goods because most of it's bullshit and marketing.
What is this? A keychain?
No, it's a
That's
pen.
weird.
It's a pen, so you always have a pen.
Oh,
And that size to fit in the cheesy safes of hotels. So when you bring your inappropriate
Right.
watches and cash for
Oh.
buying more watches on your trip, you put them in that pouch and disconnect it
man,
from the main bag.
this is man.
So I'm hoping this can become a thing because I'm going to launch it next year. I'm going to do leather jackets, wallets, and travel bags and see where it takes me.
Well, you know what? I first of all, man, thank you so much. This is. I'm really kind of speechless. It's really, and I'm super touched, man, because it's a beautiful thing you've made. Plus, weirdly, I don't know why, but you know, my obsession with this Japanese school bags. I didn't even know how that happened. You picked that.
That's great.
But
Remember when I texted you, I'm like, pick a color. You're like, for what? I'm like, leather. That's all I'm telling you. Just pick a color.
did I just say brown?
No, you picked this color specific.
Oh, that's right. You sent me.
I sent you little
you sent me
picture
pictures.
swatches.
That's right.
And then it also has for like carry-on. It's got a sleeve for modern carry-on, so it's actually
Oh,
a
that's
bit
right.
evolved. Yeah.
So you want to do this as a whole other side gig?
No, I like full on gig, a whole new brand, whole new company.
Do you know what's it going to be called?
Just J Ward.
Okay.
I'm stealing my own lizard.
Okay.
So there's some sort of dovetailed relationship, and I licensed the lizard to myself for $1 for 100 years. So
Okay.
if Icon ever transitions, they can't take my lizard back.
So, so is it going to be because the way you dress, you have you're a bit of a 19th century gentleman. You know, you have like it's like a very stylish chimney sweep in some ways. You know what I mean? Like,
Fagin, is that you?
yeah, hello. So, is it going to be? Do you take design cues? But this is totally different. This is kind of a very traditional Japanese school boy and girl backpack. But
Yeah, but then like one of my other favorite bags on the line is called the GTFO, which I developed during COVID, which is the get the fuck out bag. It's a weekend bag, and it actually is like an early medicine man American British design language.
You mean the clasp,
Yeah.
the whole?
Oh, well, I didn't do the. I'm misplacing the metal frame term for that, but it's that form language, but
Right.
it's done in the temper of the veg-tanned leather, and it has like secret compartments and stuff. But so no, like I'll pull inspiration from different directions. Now, all the jackets that I've been designing and building, those start with a car. For some reason, none of the bag work stuff has, for whatever reason.
Right. But
That's more about like details and how it's crafted from Japanese, French, and British design history more than the U.S.
So do you think for this line for Jay Ward, you're going to sort of, in a way, do similar thing to what you've done with cars? You're going to find things that inspire and then improve upon them.
Yeah. And
okay.
bring back like
Processes that are lost.
processes that people have gotten away from and then told you, oh, a painted edge is luxury. And it's not. A fucking burnished edge that someone has hand finished and beeswaxed and rubbed out that gives you that like wood-like soul.
This is amazing.
Or like even that zipper pull. Its dimension. See how it's 3D?
Yeah.
It's swollen towards the center on the zipper pull. Same
Hey,
with his
this
handle.
is a family show, man.
So that's not done anymore because it's an extra effort. It's an extra layer of leather, and people have been kind of suckered into not knowing to look for these things to define care.
Right.
And that's what I try and everything I create, I try there to be some reference to the past, but some reference forward. And when possible, without it being superfluous, if I can integrate a modern functionality or utility with the traditional aesthetic, that's my happy place.
Everything matters.
Yeah, totally.
You're a very unusual person, man. Because
Yes, quite.
very well. I mean that in the best possible way. Because there are very few people for whom everything matters.
Well, I'm hoping I can find a consumer for which this shit matters because it's been a great experience.
I have no doubt.
I'm selling cars that look like crap for $500,000, so I guess it's a good start.
Yeah, because they're utterly beautiful, and
It's funny though. Some people look at the derelicts and they're like, "Why would somebody do that?"
I mean,
I'm like, "It's not for you. It's not for you," and that's frankly kind of the beauty of it. It's not for everyone.
When I saw those things, man, my heart just sung. I mean, when I thought that was utter genius. That kind of
juxtaposition.
Yeah, the kind of the romance, the beauty, the history. Because I love history. So the beauty of the history, but then with things that work, but also the idea of I mean, if I was going to have one, I would want to have one that had some really outlandish, but somehow period correct. Like if Dali was designing interiors for a 40s car, you know what I mean? Like it would be, I don't know, like.
Do you ever see any of the Dali work when he was kind of down and out that he did for Pirelli? So like the belt buckles.
Oh no.
And they did an ad campaign. It was too racy. It got canceled. But belt buckles and graphics and sculptures for their trade shows. Look it up. It's super cool. The belt buckles are really brilliant, but there's a lot of copies and it's very hard to tell the original from the copy. So I don't have one yet. But it's a man and woman having intercourse on 4 tires in the shape of like an Italian racy car.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
And so for the trade show series that year that he did, I think we're talking late 60s, maybe later. Really, really interesting. He's fascinating.
There's something very interesting in the work that artists make when they are desperate.
Yeah,
because it pushes them to places where they might not go, and sometimes you get interesting things.
I think on the contrary, right? I like one of the reasons I love designing the stuff that I've done so far is it has constraints, and I feel I need those constraints. It's not all blue sky. Like if it's a chair, fucker got to be comfortable. If it's a watch, you've got to be able to tell the time. But if it's a car, it's an elegant combination of factors that have to cohesively flow into something that's comfortable and convenient and doesn't require martyrdom. Even these bags, traditionally, it'd be a 25-pound bag. It would just be like saddle leather and be like, oh, I look so cool, but I'm, like you're just a martyr to those vintage bags you see at a swap meet. Like, oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
So that's the nuances. But there's fun to do.
There's power in the box.
Yeah,
there's real, and I've always believed this. And the smaller the box, the more intimate it becomes. The more you're obliged to examine the details.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we should. We should probably end it here at some point.
It'll never end. You're definitely a brother of a different mother, and
man,
fast friends. And I'm so happy to have been able to come out, spend
man,
time. With
I am so honored and delighted and happy to have spent these last couple of days with you, to have you here, to have this bag. I'm just. Thank you so much for being here, man, for this conversation.
Hi.
Hi. All right. Oh.